and welcome to this home crafts video on making pillar candles. Today I'm going to show you how you can make your very own beautiful, fragranced and coloured pillar candles in your own home. The materials we're going to be using today to make our pillar candles include paraffin wax, a wax melting pot, a wax jug, scales, stearin, Vybar, some candle dyes, candle fragrance, a thermometer, wicks and wick rods, candle tack and moulds. The first thing we need to do is measure out our ingredients. The most important one, of course, is the paraffin wax. We're going to add a couple of additives today which will change the way the wax works. Stearin or stearic acid increases the melting temperature of your pillar candles. This is useful if you're going to have candles which are tall, thin or have to stand in warm rooms. We're also going to be adding Vybar. Vybar helps the candle wax to hold on to the fragrance and any dyes that you add so that they're not released until the candle's burned. As a general rule, the ratio is 10% of stearin, 1% of Vybar, 3% of fragrance, and the rest is made of your paraffin wax. But the best thing you can do when candle making is to experiment. Try out different ratios and see what happens. It's the only way you can learn. While you're waiting for your wax to melt, this is the time to prepare your moulds. First thing you'll need to do is to thread your wick through the centre of the mould. Sometimes it can be tricky to get the wick through the tiny hole in the bottom of your mould because the end of your wick can be frayed. So a quick trick is to dip the end of your wick into your melting wax, wait a few seconds for it to dry, and it will become stiff enough for you to thread through the bottom of your mould. Pull up to the surface. The hole in the bottom needs to be sealed so that your wax doesn't escape. So we'll be using candle tack. Roll the candle tack and place around the opening until you have a tight seal. Turn the mould the right way up. Take a wick rod and wrap your wick around. And your mould's ready to be filled. If you're using one of the shaped candle trays, when you first receive it, you'll find that the bottom of the tray has these small nodules. These are the piercing holes, and you'll need to use a wicking needle to pierce them. Thread the needle with your wick. If you find it difficult to thread, the same trick applies. You can always dunk it in your wax, form it to a nice flat shape and pull it through the needle. Once you've threaded the needle, place it inside the mould. Make sure your fingers are safely away from the nodule on the bottom and push through. Work the needle gently to pull the wick through the middle of the hole and remove the needle from the end of the wick. We'll use some candle tack to seal the hole. Turn the tray the right side up. Take a wick rod and tie a knot around the rod with the candle wick. When you pull it tight, you'll find that there's a groove in the top of the tray which is the perfect size for your wick rod to sit. This holds your wick in a vertical position and you're ready to make your candles. Once your moulds are all set up and ready to go, it's time to start pouring your wax. First thing you need to do is use a thermometer to check the temperature of your wax. The ideal pouring temperature for paraffin wax is about 60 degrees centigrade. Make sure it doesn't get too hot as it can ignite if it goes over about 90 degrees. Once you're happy with the temperature of your wax, you'll need to pour it into a wax pouring jug. Any candles that you make with the wax at this stage will come out as an opaque white. I'm going to make some of my candles with layers, so I'll have some white at the top. Add a few drops of my fragrance oil. And pour it into the moulds. If I want to make layers, I need to make sure I give time for this layer of wax to set. If I decide that I want to make some solid coloured wax for my candles, I'll pour some more into my wax pouring jug. And then add a couple of drops of candle dye. I've got my thermometer nearby, so I'll use that to stir the wax. And don't forget, if you're making a fragrance candle, to add it before you pour. Once some of the lower layers of your coloured candles have set, you can start pouring a second layer of colour. These liquid colours are completely intermixable, so you can add them together to make all sorts of different shades. Add more or less to make pastel or vibrant colours. Once you've given your candles plenty of time to set, you're ready to decant them. First of all, remove the candle tack from around the wick and pull carefully on the wick rod to remove your candle. The wick rod can be removed from the base of the candle by carefully snipping away at the wick which holds it in place. The wick on the top can be trimmed to about 1 centimetre and your candle's ready to light. It's really that easy to make your own candles at home, and they make wonderful gifts and a great way to decorate and accessorise in your own choices of colour.